friends, welcome back to the channel. I have a story I want to cover here today because I think that it is indicative of what a lot of people are facing in the current labor market, but also what people are going to be facing in the future. This is a software engineer who lost a six-figure job to AI, and he has been rejected from 800 jobs, forced to DoorDash and live in a trailer to make ends meet. Just imagine that. Everybody was told to learn to code, and this is what's happening to people who learn to code. Anthropic CEO Dario Amodei has predicted AI will be doing all coding tasks by next year, but an existential crisis is already hitting some software engineers. One man who lost his job last year has had to turn to living in an RV trailer, door dashing, and selling his household items on eBay just to make ends meet, as his once $150,000 salary has turned to dust. So yes, there have been tons of tech layoffs in recent years. This is not new. Tech layoffs are nothing new for Sean K. That's his name, Sean K. The software engineer first lost his job after the 2008 financial crisis and then again during the pandemic, but on both occasions he was back on his feet just a few months later. However, when Kay was given the pink slip last April, he quickly realized this time was different. AI's revolution of the tech industry was playing out right in front of him. Despite having 2 decades of experience and a computer science degree, so I wonder how much student loan debt this guy has, he's landed fewer than 10 interviews from the 800 applications he has sent out. Worse yet, some of those few interviews have been with an AI agent instead of an actual human being. Like when I was young, during the 2008 financial crisis, this is when I was like homeless as a teenager and like sleeping on people's couches. It was not hard for, well, it wasn't hard for me to get a job. I was working at a restaurant, so I was a hostess, and then they made me a server so I could make more money, and I would work like doubles, but I wanted to get a better job, and I was sleeping on this lady's couch, and I like went to this real estate office, and I would put my resume under the door like every day. I would call the lady's daughter who worked there, and I would just like, after a month of this, they were just like, okay, you might as well just come to work because you're going to be here anyways. You're going to be showing up, you're going to be calling. And I just was like very persistent. But I don't think that that's like how it is nowadays. It's not as easy as it used to be. Like if I could get, an interview with somebody and like have a sit down in person, you can be charming and you can kind of talk yourself into getting the job. But now they don't even do that. They have these AI screenings, so it's all automated, and then they have like an HR gatekeeper now that you have to go through, where it did not used to be like that before. I feel super invisible, he says. I feel unseen. I feel like I'm filtered out before a human is even in the chain. That's the future, apparently. This is the future that the tech oligarchs see for us. And while fears about AI replacing jobs have been around for years, the 42-year-old thinks his experience is only likely the beginning of a social and economic disaster tidal wave. The Great Displacement is already well underway, he recently wrote on his Substack. His last job was working at a company focused on the metaverse. Well, that was stupid. Who would want to who'd want to use the metaverse? I didn't see that ever really taking off because it just seemed so stupid. An area that was predicted to be the next great thing, yeah, by the so-called experts, only to be overshadowed in part by the rise of ChatGPT. Now living in a small RV trailer in central New York with no lead on a new tech job, Kay has had to turn to creative strategies to make ends meet and try to replace a fraction of his former $150,000 salary. In between searching incessantly for new jobs, checking his empty email inbox, and researching the latest AI news, he delivers DoorDash orders like Buffalo Wild Wings to a local Holiday Inn and sells random household items on eBay like an old laptop. In total, it only adds to a few $100s. Like, how is this guy surviving? How are people surviving right now that are going through similar things? I think that a lot of people were living beyond, above and beyond their means and having lifestyles that are just so consumeristic, like that it's not sustainable long term. Everybody's at the party, on the ride, thinking it's going to last forever. It doesn't. He's also considered going back to school for a tech certificate or even to obtain his CDL trucking license, but both were scratched off his list due to their hefty financial barrier to entry. Yeah, well, and now they have illegals taking the trucking jobs, and there's just no more job security or like career. People now will have multiple careers in their lifetime. Kay's reality may shock some, considering the US Bureau of Labor Statistics has consistently labeled software engineering as one of the fastest growing fields, but stories like his may soon become all more common. Well, I think part of that is statistics can be manipulated, and you have companies who post ghost job listings on, Indeed and these job websites, and they're not real jobs. They just put them there because they can say that they're growing, they're looking for people, they're hiring people. There's reasons that they do this, but that's a big problem, that it affects the statistics. Earlier this year, the CEO of Anthropic predicted that more software jobs will soon go by the wayside. By September, he said AI will be writing 90% of the code. Moreover, in 12 months, we may be in a world where AI is essentially writing all of the code. He tells the Council on Foreign Relations, yeah, this is what they want for us. This is the future they want, because then they can control people and make people dependent. In 2024, over 150,000 tech workers lost their jobs, and so far in 2025, that number has reached over 50,000. It's coming for basically everyone in due time, and we are already overdue for proposing any real solution in society to heading off the worst of these effects. The discussion of AI job replacement in the mainstream is still viewed as something coming in a vaguely in the future, rather than something that is already happening now, and it's been happening for a while. So when you call customer service, if you have to deal with customer service, a lot of companies no longer have Indians doing it. Now they have AI doing it, and you can tell that you're not even talking to a human being. None of this is improving things. None of this is making things more efficient. It's literally just saving some money in the short term for short-sighted people. And that's the problem with these big companies. This is the kind of thing they do. They care about the bottom line only, and they don't care about quality. And it's just lowering standards for everybody. And then it's also putting people out of work. Despite being unemployed for over a year, he still hasn't lost hope, nor is he necessarily mad at AI for replacing him, and calls himself an AI maximalist. Wow. So this is the thinking of some of these people that really just blows my mind. AI literally puts you out of work, but you're a maximalist on it. Lord have mercy. I do think that Uncle MK Ted had some very valid criticisms of the industrial technological society that still have not yet been contended with. You can go read what he wrote, and is it wrong? Is it totally wrong? You may not like his methods, and certainly I do not condone them. I disavow. But the actual critique itself has merit. And I think that we're not considering that. If AI really legitimately can do a better job than me, I'm not going to sit here and feel bad about it. Oh, it replaced me. It doesn't have the human touch. Yeah. What's frustrating, he adds, is that companies are using AI to save money by cutting talent rather than leveraging its power and embracing cyborg workers, whatever that means. I think there's this problem where people are stuck in the old world business mindset of, well, if I can do the same work that 10 developers were doing with one developer, let's just cut the developer team instead of saying, oh, I have a 10 developer team, let's do 1,000 times the work we were doing before. Well, I think in that mindset though, this idea that you can just have infinite growth, it does not last forever. You how are you going to no, it's just silly. And I understand that people are still very delusional about technology and its promise to make things better and more efficient and blah blah blah. But this man is the perfect example of what it's actually going to do. This is the human cost of it. And it's not just tech companies. Tech layoffs have surged. It's all companies are laying people off right now. And I think that this is hilarious. Tech layoffs surge even as US unemployment remains stable. I'm sorry, but it's not stable. This is a lie. Tech and federal job cuts led May layoffs driven by economic pressure and AI shifts, even as the demand for AI skills continues to grow. So your future is going to be tinkering with AI and just overseeing AI nonsense. That's the future they want for you, not actual meaningful jobs, not meaningful work, just this nonsense. Companies that announced major layoffs and hiring freezes, way more than just tech companies, although that's a lot of it. Weekly tracker here, Chiquita, Panama laying off workers, McKinsey sheds 10% of their staff, Walt Disney to lay off hundreds, TikTok cutting more Indonesian jobs, EA to lay off up to 400 employees. And it goes on and on. Leading companies that announced layoffs in 2025: UPS, Dell, Chevron, DHL, BP, Audi, Volkswagen, Estee Lauder, Siemens, DBS. The cracks in the foundation of the job market are starting to show, economist says, and the big picture is worse than it seems. Yeah. The latest economic reports show a surprisingly stable jobs market, they keep saying, but there are cracks in the foundation that could spell trouble for workers in the coming months, according to Andrew Flowers, chief economist at Appcast. Meanwhile, the bulk of available positions came from healthcare, leisure, hospitality, and social assistance. The spending bill, which passed the House and is now under consideration, would cut Medicaid. Oh, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, well, I think that it's just ridiculous. One of the things I don't like about the big, beautiful bill is the provision there against regulating AI for 10 years when AI is already disrupting society and jobs this much now. And there's already a lag between when the technology is created and any kind of law or laws passed to curtail it. It's already ahead of that. Why are we now going to have to wait 10 years before we can start regulating AI? I think that that's outrageous. And that is like definitely the one thing that needs to be removed from that bill for me to support it. Otherwise, I think it's just insane. So I'm sure that this guy is not unique. I'm sure there's a lot of people who are experiencing similar things. We were told that you had to go to college, you had to take on massive student debt in order to get a good job. Then you graduate from college, you try to get a job in your field. This guy has a computer science degree, and all of a sudden, AI is putting you out of work. And I see that, by the way, at doctors' offices now, where you walk in and you're confronted with a tablet and you have to sit there and put in your information on your own. Now they're recording your doctor's visits because they feed it into an AI. I think that this is wildly unacceptable. And so a lot of these administrative jobs, even in healthcare, are going to disappear because AI is taking over. So they're now telling people the new learn to code is go into the trades. Well, guess who gets those jobs? Illegals. a lot of that goes to illegals. And so and then you're going to have a bunch of people flooding the trades. That's going to drive wages down. And so it's just really it's concerning. And I think we need to reconsider where we're going as a society. But I'm interested to know what you guys think, and I hope you all have a good day.